centre. I think you'll find Jamie Lyon played his first ever game against them. It was a ferocious affair. He was one of the great funny men in the competition, a colourful identity, a bloke who always had a laugh or a prank just around the corner. And he had been working overseas with a charity. His family's been notified of his death, of course. He played 246 first-grade games, South, East, West, Manly, the West Tigers between 1990 and 2003. There was a landmark case where the draft, of course, the draft's about to happen in the NFL, but he was to be drafted and stood up for that, and that squashed all of those ideas of a draft, allowing players to choose where they wanted to go. So it was all Terry who was a part of that. And just a typical kid from Erskineville. And many of the stories that he would tell you, which were all quite funny, you couldn't share on here, but you'd love to. And I think most of the listeners would love to hear them, but sadly we can't. Former South teammate Craig Coleman, he said he was a typical man from Erskineville, or Urco if you're a local there. Fantastic South Sydney junior. He came through with Jimmy Dimmick, played for Australian schoolboys, all that. He was a superstar on the rise, and his whole family, of course, very, very devastated. New South Wales, 14 Origin matches. So considering there's only 3 Origin matches per year, to get 14 under your belt, also represented Australia 13 times, and he was just an opponent. He'd make it personal, not off the field, but on the field. If you were marking him, he was just in your head the whole time. One of the great sledges too, it's got to be said. He was very, very good at that. I'd play on the wing with him. As I say hello to you, Missile, very, very sad news, and it's hard to talk about given how fresh it is. Rest in peace, says Tony. Thank you very much, Tony, for Terry Hill, but it's just a shocking news.
How long did you play with him at the Tigers, Joel?
2 years, I think it was.
Were you centre wing combo?
Sometimes, and he was the highest paid player at the club.
Right.
And I used to like to come in off field. If I was ever not playing fullback, I'd be playing wing, I'd be coming in. And he'd yell out, Fernando, can you hear the drums? Beat it. He'd say, I'm not the highest paid player in the club to be on the wing. But whenever I came in all the time, it would make him the winger. Yeah. So little things like that.
Yeah.
There was one particular coach, it wasn't a senior coach, one of the junior coaches who he didn't rate. He goes, there he goes, minibus. I said, why do you call him minibus? He says, half a coach, you know. but he always had a quick-witted line, of course. Gonads was famous on the footy show, and we're trying to remember some of the better times. I remember the story, and I told this not so long ago. Centennial Park, where we all turned up. We'd all paid $3,000, $4,000 for a brand new bike. Terry turned up with probably the worst bike he could find, with tassels on it. And he said to the trainer, Tony Green at the time, he said he's never seen somebody score a try on a bike. So while we were riding bloody bikes.
That's good.
Just that type of character. But if any of the former teammates want to have their say, of course, the open line is well and truly open. 1300 01 1170. But if he was in your team, you knew it. And when you're on the field, you just felt very safe with him. He was so imposing, so intimidating. But there is a stack of text coming through, and much of the rugby league community absolutely in shock to hear the passing of Terry Hill, 52, so young, 52. And I mentioned before, I was on a podcast with the coal miner not so long ago, Missile, and there's an old boys' day this week out at Campbelltown, and they've got the old first team ever for West Tigers. They've invited everyone to go out there because that's the Broncos. That was the first ever game 25 years ago. And Dan Ganane asked me, he said, well, who's some of the people it'll be? I said, I haven't seen Terry Hill for a while. He'll be there. And I literally said that an hour ago, you know, so it's quite shocking news. 1300 01 1170. Lads, I remember having a poster of Terry and Gordon squaring up against each other in Origin on my wall as a kid. Rest in peace, great man, Port Adelaide Dragon.
The famous nose-to-nose shot. Yeah.
Yeah, mate, he feared nobody. Vale Tezza says, Dan, Tez was relentless. Brad Fittler once said to me in regards to his on-field motor mouth. Lucas, he was relentless. You did not want to mark him. Jeremy writes really, really horrible news about Terry. He was an absolute tough-as-nails competitor and league legend. What a sad day for his family and friends. The NRL needs to reintroduce the old bunker system. We'll get to those ones a little bit later on. Western Sydney Eagles, so sad. RIP Terry Hill.